Hello fellow weary travelers, and welcome once again to Catladonia. I am Catherine Cat, or any variation thereof, and I'm just popping in before the actual video to mention just a slight change of setup. Instead of just one video, this is going to be the first of a 4-video series wherein I try my hand at making a medieval style bodice, vest, or whatever you want to call it really. Now, I had originally intended to make this a single video, but quickly found out it was a far more time-consuming and complicated project than I had originally bargained on. And so I have divided it up and recorded these separate intros and outros after the fact. That said, I will quit nattering, and I hope you enjoy my flailings as I attempt a sewing project that probably should have been kept for a time when I had become a more adept sewist, but it was not. And so on we go. Hello weary travelers. Today my body is feeling good for the first time in about a week and a half, so we're gonna do something. We're actually gonna start working on this project. We're specifically going to be working on this design here, the simplest of the bunch, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about sewing, and I know even less about sewing a bodice. I spent so much time trying to track down this out-of-print pattern. The first one I ordered never came. They just canceled the order on me. So that was fun. I then purchased this one and it arrived in like less than a week. So don't know what happened there, but it's here, we have it. But I think the biggest problem we're going to run into is that the only size I could find was the 6 through 12 size. I have news for you. I'm not a size 6 in Butterick's sizing system, nor am I a size 12. I'm not any individual size on this list. Judging from my measurements, I am a 14, 16, and 18 all at the same time. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with my hip measurements for this since it stops at the waist, so I'm both a 14 and a 16 today. With that in mind, I'm going to have to take the base pattern and do a little zhuzhing. And for that, I draw your attention to the plethora of items here. You'll notice there is no fabric today, because today we're not starting on the fabric yet. We are in fact going to be working on pattern modification, and that is where this guy comes in. We'll transfer the largest size pattern pieces onto this, and then we'll just pin them to this shirt as I'm wearing it just to see how far away we are. Pretty sure that all the pieces will be long enough, if not too long. The problem is going to be width because I'm not the skinniest girl that you've ever met. So from there we'll set it down on yet more of this paper and try to kind of trace out the proper measurements that we've guesstimated from seeing the gaps. And just, you know, keep doing that. Keep adding and pinning and adjusting and tweaking until it looks like it fits, and work from there. Hopefully this will work. It's the only size I could find this in, so this is gonna just have to be how we do it, and we'll see if it works. If not, it'll be a learning experience. So with all of that in mind, let's get started.
To start off, I took some fresh measurements just to be completely sure my sizing estimation was correct before moving on to deciphering the instructions. Bear in mind that while understanding complicated written instructions or reading in general are no longer the crowning jewels among my character stats, I did finally manage to decipher the strange symbols and glyphs on this ancient sewing tome well enough to choose a possible pattern cutting layout and begin searching through the pattern sheets. Once each piece was located, tracing and cutting out my test dummy patterns was the name of the game, until I remembered I hadn't properly washed or prepped my fabric, so a momentary break was enforced to begin unceremoniously tossing my fabric bundles into bags and into the washer.
And we're back. Today's task, ironing. Yes, that wonderful bit of sewing that everybody just craves and waits for, the ironing. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I have not done any ironing in quite a while, so I'm not really sure what settings to do things on or anything like that, so we're just kind of gonna be winging this. Also, this, I washed it. I pre-washed it like you're supposed to, but I kind of forgot the whole overlocking the hems thing, so we end up with this sort of wonderful messed up edge, so I'm gonna have to go in and clean that up. But you know, it's washed, it's clean, it's ready for ironing, so let's do this. All right, so now that we've got this rather lengthy piece of fabric completely ironed out, I really only need like this much. I mean, like maybe, I don't know, 1 yard. Now we're just gonna lay out the pattern pieces, pin them into place, cut them out, and then we're gonna try pinning it all together, and we'll do a quick fit test, see if it's working, and if not, we'll start trying to do some more detailed fittings before cutting out the other layers.
Fortunately for me, this part of the process involves little peril beyond the occasional risk of the proverbial pricking of one's thumbs, and before long, the patterns were pinned, cut out, and the pieces pinned together to be ready for, I guess we can call it a test fitting?
All right, and with that, we now have a working model to try on. But obviously I can't try it on in this, so that's right, it's the return of the red shirt. Star Trek fans, run in fear. This is one of the most form-fitting pieces of clothing I own, so I figured, you know, it's probably the best for trying on things like this. So without further ado, let's see what I have wrought. Okay, so initial thoughts. The back feels good and actually looks okay. It's a little roomy up here, so I think we're gonna tighten up the shoulders a bit, probably about quarter inch, half an inch, we'll see. The fitting here is all over the place. The waist is pretty good, the back is pretty good. What I'm gonna have to do is do a lot of finagling just all around the bust line, just because like we've got some weird like poofing going on there. I think we're just gonna start pinning until it starts to look kind of okay. Sound good? Okay, good. Sounds good to me too. See you in a second.
After a literal eternity of pinning, I had something that seemed at least close to my measurements and began attempting to alter both the fabric pieces and their corresponding pattern pieces. I also went back to the original patterns to include some of the extra markings I'd left off in my initial tracings, just to speed up the first few extra steps I'd created for myself. After a lot of fiddling about, I'm still not sure I did anything to improve the fit of this, but how can you know if you don't try, right? I transposed the symbols on the pattern pieces to my mock-up / soon-to-be lining, and began a long, tedious process of pinning, trying on, pinning, readjusting, more pinning, etc., and so forth, before calling it a day.
So it's been a few days. Forgive me if I'm talking a little quietly. My mom is napping in the next room and I don't want to wake her up. So, as you can see, I've dismantled the mock-ups. I have done about 5 million alterations on this thing. I was finding that when I would put it on, it just wasn't sitting right. It would either sit well in the shoulders or it sit well in the bust. And I figured I would work from the bust up. So I'll line these up with the original patterns and show you just how much they've changed. Okay, so here are the 3 altered fabric pieces laid out on top of the pattern pieces from the original. As you can see, there have been some significant edits. Like I said, up here at the top, my upper torso just isn't quite as tall as they accounted for, so a lot of length was lost here, and then we brought the back neckline down accordingly. We brought this in just a little bit, and on the sides here we brought the side seam in a bit. We actually curved it a little bit too, because it was just a little too straight for my back. The bottoms of all of them look pretty much okay, but this one surprised me. I had forgotten how much I had changed this one. So we had to add a fairly significant dip here, and then a really big adjustment up here, because it was just sitting way too far out, and it just was not giving that sort of fitted, snug feel that you're looking for in a Renaissance fest. So those are the basic edits. Next, we're going to transfer these edits to the paper panels, and then we'll use those paper panels to cut out the remaining layers. One outer layer and then a inner layer of, I think instead of interfacing, I'm going to try using like a heavy burlap, not burlap, but this stuff. I'll put it here on the screen. Anyway, on we go. So now we have our new altered pattern pieces and we have our lining. So we just need to do one more cut out of the white cotton, and then we must both iron and cut out this. So we'll just kind of fast track through that, shall we? In 3, 2, 1.
got all of our pieces cut out. So for today, I think what I'm going to do to wrap up is just pin these middle sections, the stiffener sections, to the outer layers, which will probably be these brand new ones. Pin those together, and I think that will be the stopping point for tonight because my back is not happy. So we'll do that, and then we'll check in another time when I will start bringing out the sewing machine and see if what I have created is at all usable. Fingers crossed. And so ends part 1 of our first sewing adventure. Will my pattern altering attempts create the perfect fit or prove to be in vain? Perhaps we will find out next week in part 2. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the like button or perhaps share it with someone else you think might like it. And if you would like to see more of this content or see what other mischief I happen to get up to on this channel, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But until then, fellow weary travelers, good day and God be with you.